Okay, let's go.
Sorry, is it? Sorry. So the man vows a vow, that one?
Right.
I think we're going to Gimel.
What about?
We're here, right, thank you.
When a man,
Think that
when a man vows a vow, Adonai to Hashem, or Shavua, or swears an oath, they're so Isa to bind with a bond.
Yeah, well, bond is not the right word.
What is it?
So means to bind himself with a prohibition upon himself. It means he makes something forbidden to himself.
So you have the same book, sorry.
Right? There's so Isa Nafshi means he binds himself, that he makes a prohibition, that he innovates, let's say, a prohibition upon himself. Okay, it means, let's say he says, I'm not going to eat chocolate. Example, okay? Lo yachel devaro.
I'm not sure, but so lo yachal devaro, he shall not break his word.
Well, he should not break his word. Okay, we'll see about the Rashi says we should not profane his words, right? Yes.
According to all that comes out of his mouth, he shall do.
His mouth utters, everything that his mouth utters, he shall do.
Neder.
By the way, I didn't mention this yesterday, but the thing we see from this parasha, the power of the words, power of speech. The person has said something, right? It has a person's words have an effect. And certainly as far as if Chas v'Sholom a person speaks Lashon Hara, somebody else like that, words have a powerful effect. Hein l'tov, hein l'mutar, but it can be for good or Chas v'Sholom not. Just be aware of a person's power of speech, and in that way the power of speech is what manifests a person's intelligence. Right? Chazal say that Vayipach ba'apoi ruach nefesh chaya, that when the HaKodesh Baruch created man, he blew into his nostrils, right, the nefesh chaya, the living soul, and the Targum translates that as ruach mamalala, a speaking spirit. The person's intelligence, person's fact that he has a neshama and animals don't have a neshama, is manifested by the person's power of speech. Human beings are articulate, animals are not. Now, they may make noises, which noises have a certain meaning, but they don't have the power of speech. They can't articulate themselves to put together speech.
What did Solomon do?
Well, he was able to understand whatever the meaning of these noises, but still man has intelligence, and that intelligence is manifested by a person's power of speech. So this person has to realize that this is a person, a human being has a power of speech, he's got to utilize it for the good. Okay, let's carry on. See the Rashi here. Now, Rashi is going to point out this, the Pasuk uses, and we're going to see all the way through over here, there's two types of vows, let's call it. There's what's called a neder, and there's what's called a shvur. And Rashi is going to explain the distinction between the two. Okay, neder.
Neder, vow. Omer harei alai konam. If one says, I take upon myself a vow,
well, koinam is actually Rashi. Koinam, the word koinam is the Aramaic, was a actually say not a euphemism. It's not the right word. Right word. Koinam is a synonym for korban. And so it means, someone says, I take upon myself that this object should be forbidden to me like a korban.
Like a korban, yes.
Right, that's the word koinam. Shaloi oichal.
That I shall not eat.
Or shaloi
yaseh davar peloni, or that I should not do a certain thing.
Okay, now, so it's interesting, the Mepharshim dwell on this Rashi, because Rashi seems to mix the two things up. What it means is as follows. Neder, the Gemara explains in a number of places, neder means something where you lay the prohibition on the object. Which means this person says, this object is forbidden to me like something holy. Like a korban. Like a sacrifice. Okay, so he hasn't said anything about himself. He's saying the object is forbidden to me. Okay? By the way, a person has anything which is an object of his own, okay? He can say this object is forbidden, and he can make it forbidden for others as well.
What was the second?
He can make it forbidden for others.
For others.
Right? The person, let's say, says a loaf of bread. So the person says, this loaf of bread of mine is forbidden like a korban. That means not only he's not forbidden to eat it, everybody else is forbidden as well. However, what belongs to somebody else, he can make that forbidden to himself, but he can't make it forbidden to others. Right? Ein oiseh dover she'ein shelo. A person can't make a prohibition on something that's not his upon others. He can make it forbidden to himself. Like saying, I'm not going to have any hana, I'm not going to eat so-and-so's cream cake. Okay? But he can't say, I'm forbidding so-and-so's cream cake on so-and-so, then he can't do. Okay? Now that's a neder. Okay? A shvur is a person addresses to himself. He says, I make an oath that I will not do this. Okay, let's say you take a loaf of bread. Okay, he says, I make an oath, I'm not going to eat this loaf of bread. Okay, that means the loaf of bread itself is not forbidden. He is forbidden to eat the loaf of bread. The onus is on him, right? Meaning he has the prohibition. Now, Rashi seems to put the two things together. So when he says, right? I said, this thing is upon me like a korban that I won't eat.
Yeah.
So the Mefarshim explain what Rashi means is as follows. Meaning, the person B'etzem, he's making the object forbidden, and he's saying it's forbidden vis-a-vis that I'm not going to eat it. Now this is how I'm not going to go into it. If a person actually utters this makes such a statement, says, this loaf of bread is forbidden to me, is the koinam, this loaf of bread, that I will not eat it, that is a big discussion, and I'm going to show you what status does it have. Does it have a din of a neder, or a din of a shvur? According to some opinions, you can't just, by the way, another thing we're going to see over here, it's very specific. We mentioned this actually yesterday. It's very specific what a person says. If a person says the right thing, then the prohibition will be valid. If he doesn't say the right words, whatever, he doesn't think, then could be nothing's valid with Chal. Okay, we'll see about
There's no vow.
There's no vow then, if he doesn't say it. Okay?
Or שלא יעשה דבר פלוני, or that I shall not do a certain thing, יכול אפילו נשמע, I might infer that even if he swears, שאכל מנהלות, that he would eat the flesh of animals not slaughtered according to ritual law.
Right, so here this means actually makes a shvur. When a person says, you know what, and make an oath that I'm going to eat something forbidden. You can't do that, man, right? Well, that's what he's saying, that's what the pastor is going to tell you. Okay? Meaning, so on one hand, he's forbidden to eat it, the Torah says he's forbidden. On the other hand, he's saying he's making an oath, you've got to keep the oath. So you've got two things. So we say, how do you say it? Conflicting, right? Conflicting each other. Now, which one should override the other?
The Torah.
Oh, so that's the thing as follows. You could say we have a concept. So asay doicha loisas. Right? The person has a prohibition. I'll give you an example. A person has a linen garment. This is the classic case. A person has a linen garment, and the Torah prescribes you've got to put on tzitzis. Now, technically, you could put on linen tzitzis. The tzitzis don't have to be worn. But if he has, in the times we don't have anymore, if we have, some people actually say we do, we have tcheles, right? The aquamarine wool, right? Now, that has to be from wool. Tcheles has to be wool.
Really?
Yes. The tzitzis, the white part, right? You can technically, if a person has a cotton garment of tzitzis, you can put on cotton tzitzis. If he has a linen garment, you can put on linen tzitzis. But if he wants to put on tcheles, the tcheles has to be wool. And also it means then the whole thing. The Meiser, when there was tcheles, those who have it, has to be wool, and there should be two of wool, two of tcheles, and two of white wool. Two strings. Two of one, two of the other.
Really?
Yeah. Akoponim,
And you see people with it today, they only have one.
yeah? I see that, I'm not sure.
You see that because it's, you can tell the long one is the one that wraps around.
But they don't have another one of the other ones?
That's all you see. The other three are...
Are you sure? Check? I'm not sure. Anyway.
I'll double check.
I'll
grab somebody's...
Akoponim, what I'm saying, but that has to be wool. Now, what happens if a person has a linen garment? Is he allowed to put wool tzitzis on? Shatnez! So the Gemara learns out, there's two juxtaposed in Parshas Kiseitze, the two Parshas are juxtaposed. It says, Uveged kilayim shatnez, loi saleh olecha. You mustn't wear a garment of shatnez. Next passage says, Gedilim ta'aseh lecha al arba kamfos kususcha ashet al. To put on strings, dilim meaning tzitzis. So the Gemara learns out from the juxtaposition is that even though you have a beged of shatnez, you mustn't wear shatnez, meaning wool and linen together. But if you have a linen garment, you're allowed to put on wool tzitzis. And the Gemara learns out from there a rule thing: asay doichelo isaseh. A positive commandment, you push aside a negative commandment. What's the shall we say, the svara behind it? So there's a Ramban. Ramban says a meridic svara. We have positive commandments and negative commandments, right? Now, negative commandments are things which you mustn't do, and positive commandments are things which you positively do. Now, we have always a rule: sumera v'asei tov. Keep away from bad, right, and do good. So sumera means that's all the negative commandments. Keep away from bad, and do good. Now, ask the Ramban, why should we say asay doichelo isaseh? Why should a positive commandment override a negative commandment? What's the din if somebody transgresses a negative commandment? Chas v'shalom, he eats something not kosher. Lashes. What happens if somebody transgresses a positive commandment? Because one day he doesn't put on tefillin? Nothing. So, in fact, the Ramban, you see, I mean, he's going to get something in Shemayim he's get, but there's no, Bezdin doesn't give any oynish for not keeping a positive commandment. So, ask the Ramban, you see that a negative commandment is much more serious than keeping a positive commandment. A person transgresses a negative commandment, pitch, right? Whack, lashes. If he doesn't fulfill a positive commandment, nothing. Right? So how can that be? So there's a contradiction. So why should I say v'doich alo isaseh? So says the Ramban in Meridik Esfar. It says, when a person wants to come close to Hashem, and he's got a choice of two things: should I not transgress a negative commandment, or should I do a positive commandment? Which aspect brings him closer to Hashem? Doing the positive commandment, because that's actually bringing him closer to Hashem. Refraining from not doing the negative commandment, okay, it's a good thing. He hasn't distanced himself from Hashem, but he's not actually bringing himself closer. So that's what the Rambam says. Somebody who transgresses a negative commandment not only hasn't brought himself closer to Hashem, he's distanced himself from Hashem. Wow, that's bad. So he gets lashes. But somebody who hasn't transgressed the negative commandment, but he hasn't fulfilled the positive commandment, okay, he hasn't distanced himself from Hashem, but he's lacking in coming close to Hashem. So he doesn't get an actual punishment for that, but he's missing out on the good part of it. However, now you have a choice. Should I do the action which brings me closer to Hashem, or should I just, and as a result of that, miss out on distancing myself from Hashem? So then the Torah says, better do an action which will bring you actually closer to Hashem, and that can override the action of even distancing oneself from Hashem. That's the tzvah of the Rambam. That's why he says, I do say the HaKodesh. So therefore over here I would have had a havana. Somebody now makes an oath, and he has a positive commandment, whatever he's supposed to do, he's got a positive commandment to keep what he said. On the other hand, he's going to transgress what the Torah says. You mustn't eat, let's say, nevelis. That's what Rashi said. You mustn't eat non-shechted food. So what should he do? So therefore the Torah says, so Rashi says, no. When the Torah says over, whatever he's supposed to do, whatever his mouth utters, he shall do, that's not governing what the Torah has already prohibited. Whereas when it comes to making an oath that he's going to do something which the Torah hasn't yet hasn't said told you one way or another. Hasn't told you yes to do, and he hasn't told you not to do. Therefore, there's a free area there. The person gives a person, Kilu, the Torah, give a person a free hand. If you want, you can do what you know what. Let's say eat chocolate, for instance. The Torah says, no problem eating chocolate. I can let you eat chocolate if you want. The person knows he has a taiva to eat chocolate, so he makes an oath, I'm not going to eat chocolate. Okay, so Torah says that's a good thing. If you want to, if a person does it in order to make sure that he doesn't get drawn after his lust, whatever, he wants to control his lust, so it's a good thing to make a thing, to make an oath. An oath, I'm not going to eat chocolate. Or similarly, he knows he's lazy and it's difficult for him to get up in the morning, so he says, I'll make an oath that I'm going to get up every morning at 7 o'clock. Okay? So that's a good thing because he's trying to conquer his weak points. Okay? But that's only where it doesn't conflict with what the Torah has already prescribed. But when it comes to conflict with what the Torah already prescribed, no. Torah says comes first. And that's what Rashi is saying over here.
Now what happens if you conflict to us? Then what?
He has to do matter the neder. But a person has to be very careful when he makes neder. A person only make a neder to say that the fact that you say, give me an example. I'm going to make a neder, I'm going to get up every morning at 7 o'clock, right? He only makes such a neder if he knows that he can do it.
What is the hazakah?
No, the person should not. The person should not, preferably avoid making neder.
So why is a hazakah, that taking from what he's saying, why is hazakah so, excuse me, Stephen can answer it. What the hazakah? Yeah. Why is it so deep, so important? Well, you do something 3 times, and it's like doing it permanently. I want to do something. I don't want it.
Well, you brought up another point, and this thing of chazaka, and only thing is talking about referring to do good deeds, meaning a mitzvah. Something, let's say a person eats chocolate 3 times in 3 days consecutive. It's not a chazaka.
So why do you need to feel what time I go to shul in the morning? Please myself. Please myself.
What?
Why can't I please myself? Why? You've done a sin now because you didn't keep the zakah. You go early to shul. You didn't even make it a zakah. You just go to shul early before it starts, right? And you have to be there. So it starts 7:30, 7:15. You go there, and then suddenly you can be committed to a zakah. You're doing it. You're doing it because. So
there's a thing. When a person does such a thing, what he should do is before he starts doing this. Good practice, this good custom, you should say, what I'm doing now is Beli Neder.
Why should you have to?
Why should I? No, I can explain to you. I had intentionally avoided to mentioning this, but there's 2 types of Neder. There's this what we're discussing over here, is not discussing a type of Neder when a person does mitzvahs. That's a separate thing, I'm going to explain. Here we're deciding, that's why I give an example, eating chocolate, or not eating chocolate, or another example. Listen, things which are purely parva in Yodim, meaning something which is not a mitzvah, it's not an avera involved, not a mitzvah involved. The person wants to maybe control his taivas, his lust, or something like that. But there's another thing which it doesn't appear in this parasha, it appears later in Parshas Kiseitze. It says, making a neder lidvar mitzvah, meaning a person says, I am going to do this dvar mitzvah, even if he doesn't express it in a terminology of a shvur. I promise I'm going to do this, or I make an oath that I'm going to do this mitzvah. Doesn't make a difference. A person makes a statement, and it takes upon himself that he's going to do a mitzvah. He's got to do that mitzvah. And that is learned out. If I can trouble you, Matt, to give me a Chumash Dvarim.
He's not doing it early to go to shul.
It's called a Hanhaga Tova, a good practice.
A good practice.
Connected with a mitzvah. It's got to be connected with a mitzvah. Right? A person, let's say, gives a shekel to tzedakah every day. Right? Yeah. If he doesn't say that before he does it, bli neder, then he's got l'chora, if for whatever reason he cannot keep up with this practice, then he should go to Rav and he said to the Rav, I've had this good practice, and the Rav will absolve him of the of the neder involved with this good practice. It doesn't mean you should stop doing the practice, but he doesn't have the binding, the prohibition of a neder upon him.
What's hazaka?
So Chazak Yibra, what Yaakov is referring to, the person does something 3 times in a row, and that's considered, okay, that's binding, meaning...
Even though you didn't sort of say, I've got to do it, just like you come to shul early in the morning, you do it 3 times. But you didn't do it because you did it, you wanted to do it.
Yeah.
So, but you've got to do it from there on, unless you say you back...
Chapter 24, yeah. Chapter 24. Remember that? Chapter 24, Pasuk 24 in Parshas Kiseitze. Chumash Dvar. Moitzah sefosecha tishmer vasisa. What your mouth utters, you should be careful to keep. Kashem adarta Hashem elekecha ledavar, as you have promised, as you made a vow to Hashem your God to give a donation. Asher dibarta beficha, that you have spoken with your word. So from here, Chazal explained that means he's trying to do neder lidvar mitzvah. Somebody makes a vow, and even if he doesn't actually make a vow in the expression of a vow, if he just says, I intend to do it, and it doesn't say bli neder, the person says, I intend to fulfill this X mitzvah, and then the person has an obligation.
But you just said a thought can you also...
No. So thoughts without words don't have anything.
So I can still go to shul. If I don't go to shul, I just have a habit of going. I do a zakah. I do it 3 times. And if I don't voice it, then I can...
Well, no, 1 second. No. If you actually go ahead and do it, then that in itself is the...
I'm just saying. So what I just said
that. That's what I'm saying. I thought you meant to say. A person says, in his mind, he says, I'm going to donate 1,000 shekel to this and this stuff. But he didn't actually utter
verbalize it.
He didn't verbalize it. He just had it in his mind. Then he's not obliged. But if he said, he actually uttered the words, I intend, without saying later, if he says, I intend to give, says, I'm going to give a donation to this and this cause, and he actually said the words, then he's obliged to do it so. Okay? But that we hear, that's what we discussed in the Parshas Kiseitze. This is what this Parsha is discussing, not mitzvahs, but something voluntary objects. A person says, I'll give an example. A person makes a vow, makes an oath, I'm not going to eat chocolate. Because he wants to control his taiva for eating chocolate. Okay? Now, so that's 1 second, in the middle of the reading.
Right, so that means
somebody made an oath
with a bond
that he not to eat that he's going to eat forbidden meat, non-shechted meat. Talmud le'esor isor. Le'esor es hamuta v'lo lahati es ha'asor.
Forbid that which is allowed.
The whole, what we're discussing here, when we're discussing vows over here, vows and oaths, is dafka where a person prohibits upon himself something that's permitted, but not to permit something that's prohibited. Okay?
You can't trade?
No.
Can't do anything then.
Okay?
Law.
No, what with that Rashi? Lo yachel devaro.
He shall not break his word. Kamor law yachalel
devaro. Shouldn't make profane.
Law yachalel devaro.
Lo yaseh dvarav chulin. He shouldn't make his words profane. What you mean is, if a person has absolutely no value to his words, so I said something, so I can go back on it. But the person realizes value to his words, there's some substance. Therefore, if a person made a statement, then he can't go back on it. Okay? Now that's particular if Dafki he says this Lashon. The person, let's say he says, just says, I've got to control my appetite, I've got to control things, I'm not going to eat any more chocolate. If he doesn't say in the Lashon oath, I make an oath that thing, then there's nothing binding.
But if you do it in front of a witness, and there's something, a witness is a Shem, I know. You
No,
say,
but
so
I
the only
don't-
thing is talk about, I won't eat chocolate,
If it-
so
if
big
it-
deal. So,
right,
but
if
you're
it-
not doing it in front of anyone. I mean,
Doesn't
it's not
matter, doesn't
offending
matter.
anyone.
First of all, the person uses the Lashon, I'm making an oath that I'm not going to eat chocolate, right? There's one above who's listening, right? And he knows everything that's going on. So the person, even if it's not in front of anybody else, doesn't make a difference. Okay. Yisrael Meir.
Yeah.
You're allowed to read Pasuk Dalet.
Just going to ask about smoking. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
Smoking. That is forbidden because it's bad for your health. Now, so you're telling me that you just ended up by saying doing something that's forbidden, and you're making an oath. So that's something you know.
So let's 1 second.
Yeah.
So okay. So now you hit upon it. What happens? A person makes it's forbidden, let's say, to eat non-shackled meats. Now, if a person says, "I'm making an oath, then I'm not going to eat nevela."
Well,
He's anyway forbidden.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right, so the Gemara says that doesn't have a token, how do you say token? It doesn't have the
Review.
the validity, the power of an oath. Why? Because I can only make an oath on something that's previously permitted to me, and now, as a result of the oath, I'm making it forbidden. Or I'm forbidden anyway. Ein shavua chalal shvur means once something a person is already forbidden to do. And on all the Torah, everything the Torah made like an oath. We have an oath. We've got to fulfill all the mitzvahs of the Torah. So we already are forbidden to eat nevela. We're already forbidden to do that. And we have an oath that we're not allowed to eat it. So therefore, a person makes another oath not to eat nevela.
Yeah, you're talking about nevela. I'm talking about smoking. Now, that's bad for your health. Now, a great rabbi was related to the great tzaddik in Manchester, Rabbi Kupetz, who was a brilliant...
It's son-in-law of Rabbi Siddur.
Yeah, he smoked like a chimney. And we always just say, you're not allowed to smoke, it's forbidden.
So what did he answer?
Oh, yeah, well, whatever,
Okay,
but he was,
anyway.
yeah.
He's a very funny person.
Yeah, he's very, yeah. So what you're telling me, he's not nevela, but it's not good for you. It's dangerous for your health. That's why I asked you.
Let me ask you something. Let's say, I'll give you an example. It's a person who's allergic to potatoes.
Yeah.
It's a person allergic to potatoes. Now, and he's once in a while he likes, he's got cheshek to eat Sruli's chips. Not Sruli's chips, but anyway, the yummy chips which Sruli's eating.
Mr. Chips.
Anyway, okay. French fries, I'm sorry. Okay? You have to know, English is chips.
Mr. Chips.
Okay. American chips are English crisps. And English chips are American French fries.
There's no such thing as American chips.
You know what the Americans call chips?
They
French
call
fries.
them chips. They call them
French fries.
No, but what, you don't eat
Potato
chips?
chips.
Potato chips.
Oh, potato chips. Oh, okay.
Right, so we call them crisps. Then we,
Okay.
so the English call
Yeah.
them crisps. Okay? Anyway, so a person is forbidden, he knows he's allergic to, let's say he's allergic to them, or it doesn't do him good, whatever, it doesn't do his stomach good.
Right.
Is he allowed now, and he takes a piece of the French fry, right, he takes one, he wants to eat it. Can he make a brach on it?
Yeah, you could.
I always find that question, like by Coca-Cola.
If a person
It's
takes a
stuff
stolen,
like that.
steals somebody else's French fry, right, and he takes it and wants to
Then
think,
you must
should he make a brach on it?
Not steal.
So, okay,
So the Gemara says quite clearly, no! First of all, he shouldn't take it in the first place, but if he does make a bracha, Hashem. What's he saying? He says, thank you Hashem for giving me this. I never gave it to you! Right? Of course, if somebody steals something from somebody else and he makes a bracha on it, he's saying, thank you Hashem for giving it.
So go back to the first one that you didn't answer.
Well,
so
About
avoiding
if it isn't good for you.
Oh, so now it's interesting. So this is a shaila. Is it good for? Should you make a bracha on it? So this is the discussion. So this question was asked to Rabbi Yoshev, Zechayim bracha, and he has an interesting answer. A person has to make a bracha even on the smallest amount. If he eats just a tiny amount, is that going to harm him?
No.
So
Maybe
therefore,
yes,
said Rabbi
maybe
Yosef,
no.
so whatever, it depends what the situation. But let's assume the situation is not going to harm him. Okay, so in that tiny amount, he has to make a bracha because that's not harmful to him. So therefore, Yosef says yes, he should make a bracha because on that tiny amount, which he's been clear to make a bracha on, that's not going to be harmful.
Make a bracha achrona?
Oh, that's another question. That's also another good question, right? Because the chayra, if he ate
And he had to eat enough.
right, he had to eat enough, then that wasn't good for him for sure. It's also a good question. I can't remember about that.
So
It's a
if he eats
discussion.
the standard portion, then he doesn't have to make a bracha because it's not good for him.
No, but when the bracha rishona, for sure he has to make. The bracha achrona, that's the question. That's a good point. You have to check that out because it is.
Then even if it's a standard portion, that's not good for him. Let's
No,
say
but
he buys
the
a
point
bag of
is
potato chips.
when
No, you didn't answer that question.
I didn't answer that question yet.
Can you use it?
No, so I'm saying if he intended, when he eats something, even if he actually eats a standard portion, but the first little bit he ate, which he has to make a bracha on, was not harmful to him.
So the answer is yes, he makes the bracha.
Makes it, so he does make a bracha rishona. It was the first bracha, the beginning bracha, he does make. The question is an after bracha, that's the question. Okay, anyway, where we're going a little bit off a tangent now. No, okay, this is,
What was the answer to...
You voted mine, so I
Oh, yes, about smoking.
yeah.
Oh, so the question is, so now she's saying, so going back to the things. When a person is forbidden to eat nevela, that's a non-shafted meat, so even the tiniest amount is not allowed to eat. When a person, even though it's maybe dangerous to his health, one cigarette is going to harm him? It's probably not.
Well,
Right?
statistically, they would
So
say yes.
therefore, if a person can make an oath not to smoke, and that will be chal, right? Because the Torah didn't forbid smoking per se. Torah forbade a person to harm himself. One cigarette may not necessarily be harming himself. So on the first cigarette, they made this chal. Okay? They were chal on the first cigarette. Okay?
So he can make a nid.
Yeah, right. Probably he should. I mean, I'm saying depending what the situation is.
You stopped
But if
smoking.
right? He did stop smoking.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes it takes a doctor rather than the great doctor upstairs to tell a person to stop.
Yeah, because the nicotine can be addictive.
Right. No, but the point is, when a person is told by the doctor, you smoke anymore, you're 2 feet under.
Right.
That's true.
Okay.
6 feet under.
6 feet, whatever. I don't know how deep they are. Okay. I'm sorry. Did I skip you, Mordechai?
Yes, skip me.
What?
No. Yaakov just read.
Yeah, I just read. So you should be next. Okay, did you read yesterday?
I don't think so.
No, okay, so sorry. Pasuk Dalet. Okay, now, this is, by the way, this is just the Hakdama. This pasuk that says, Ish starts off, a man, okay, who makes a vow, Lo Yachel Devorim. He mustn't profane what he says, meaning, when a man makes a vow, that's it. Nobody can, unless he goes to a Chacham to show that he did not have intention, circumstances were that he didn't intend to make the vow under these circumstances, then the Chacham can come along and undo the vow, be matir the vow. But in that way, a man is very different from a woman. A woman, since she's under the jurisdiction of either her father, under circumstances, or her husband, right, if she's married, then a woman can have either a father or a husband cancel her vows. But a man, since he's only under his own jurisdiction, he's not necessarily under jurisdiction by others, in the same way as a woman is, right? Therefore, what he says is binding. Lo Yachel Devorim, and the only way he can, should we say, nullify his vows or his oaths is to go to a Chacham, and the Chacham will investigate to see under what circumstances he made the vow, and if the Chacham sees that, if he'd realized that the circumstances were different from what he thought they were, okay, then the Chacham can, under certain circumstances, nullify his vow.
What is the connection between the Durham and the war of Midian? What is the connection?
That is a very good question.
What's the question?
Between the war with Midian. That's the next section. What is it doing here, B'chalal?
Yes.
Why is this whole section doing here? It's interesting, of all the mitzvahs in Sefer Bamidbar, right? Like most of Sefer Bamidbar is narrative of what happened to the Jewish people in the desert and everything like that. There are a few sections which are different. Parshas Nosoi. First of all, the Parshas Bamidbar itself that's the obligation, the commandment to Jewish people to count in a certain way. They're supposed to be counted, and they're giving out of the different tasks which the Leviim was supposed to do, the Kohanim and the Leviim were supposed to do. That's a lot of Parshas Bamidbar and Parshas Nosoi. But there's few mitzvahs which kind of landed up, if I may say the word, landed up in Sefer Bamidbar, which didn't have any particular connection. One is, we got in Parshas Nosoi, we've got the story of the Sota, got this din of a Nazir, and then you have in Parshas Chukas, you have the din of the Parah Aduma, and now another thing over here is this Parsha Nedarim, which it doesn't seem to have any connection to anything around it. So the Ma'aser, the Mefarshim explain over here, why is it mentioned over here? Is because last week's Parsha, at the end of Rashi Parsha, we mentioned all the korbanos, which the obligatory korbanos, which one has to bring on the different Yom Tovim, Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, and different Yom Tovim. Now the last pasuk in last week's Parsha said, the penultimate pasuk said, "Eila tasu l'Hashem b'madechem, levad minidreichem v'nidveiseichem." Apart from your vowed offerings and your
Free will.
free will offerings, because now, so you see, there's a concept of vowed offerings. So now the Torah says, "Well, what are these vowed offerings? What's we discussing vows and oaths and everything?" The Torah says, "Okay, now I'll explain to you what we're talking about. What these vows and oaths are going on about." Okay, so that will somewhat answer your question. Okay. We just have time to read the pasuk.
Maybe the wall of meaning has to do with avenging Hashem's sake, right?
That's something we haven't got to that yet. We've got this section about the
Push it.
Okay. Mordechai, just read the pasuk over here. Isha.
V'isha ki tidor neder ma'ashem v'asra iso b'veis of viha b'nureha.
And the woman, ki sidor neder Hashem, who makes a vow to Hashem, or v'asra iso, she binds upon herself a prohibition, b'veis of viha, in her father's house, b'nureha, when she is a young girl in the age of 12. Between 12 and 12 and a half. This is, we're going to explain tomorrow, Bezat Hashem. Nureha is a certain stage of puberty where the girl is between 12 and 12 and a half. That's the standard age. It means she already has a certain level of maturity. She has pubic hairs, but she's not fully developed in her puberty. So and the Chazal say that's the standard age of that is between the age of 12 and 12 and a half. Okay? So once she's fully mature, she's a Bogeres, it's called a Bogeres, then she's already like in her own, she's her own boss. Okay? Unless she's married. Okay?
Yeah.
When she's under the age of 12, she's a Ketana. Right? She's a young girl. She doesn't have any, vows aren't binding. We're going to see about this in Rashi. But when is she sort of like a halfway house? She's already somewhat mature. She's 12 years old. She already has the initial signs of puberty, right? But she's not fully pure, fully developed. She's not fully mature. So that's called Nara. She's a Nara. That's that stage, and this is what we're going to discuss over here. But we'll have to stop now because it's mincha time.